the thing is that any member of the conspiracy is can be held accountable for any foreseeable acts of all the other conspirators, which makes mail fraud a weird thing, because what her lawyer is going to try to do once he gets her to realize she has to plead guilty is to try to limit it to the amount of money that can be attributed to her and whittle that down as much as possible, right? Because, okay, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, but what is wire fraud? Like, is that the actual picking up of the phone and calling someone?
Or an email or a fax or a bank. It's mostly.
So it's like reaching out to somebody to
yeah,
defraud
I think
them.
that they're going to, the wire is, it's going to be banks, because these people bend over backwards to shield themselves from these shell corporations. So it probably took them a bit of time to figure out which ones Jen owns. And, you have to be, the feds don't play. Like, Sharif is not indicted. Or if they had evidence that
we're going to talk about that too.
Yeah. She's the only one, and none of her other, because trust me, I'm sure they investigated the whole squad. And I don't mean the housewives, because I'm sure they had nothing to do with it. Her other
Shah squad.
I don't think, no, Shah squad, definitely. I just don't think your friends like Lisa and Meredith, I don't think they have anything to worry about. I don't think they're part of it. And, there's no implication that her business dealings have anything to do with their life. And most of these fraudsters would never share because again, she doesn't think she's a fraudster. I know it sounds crazy, but in her mind, everything she's doing is legal. It's going to take her lawyer hours and hours and hours and hours and countless sessions of showing her the proof that they have against her before she will finally come around. And then she still won't want to take a guilty plea where she has to admit she's guilty. And in the federal system, you absolutely have to say you're pleading guilty because you're guilty. So,
well, okay. And I have a question on that. So that's what the wire fraud is. It's just like the bank and just like getting the money, but then what's money laundering? The second
well, cleaning money is money laundering, right? So
okay, like Good Girls.
If you
on
take
that show,
dirty money and you run it through legal businesses to flush it, so you don't have to report your income to the IRS. So it's interesting that she hasn't gotten a tax evasion charge from that, because somehow she must have been reporting most of it somehow.
Once they do this, like this indictment, like that's it, right? It's not like now there could be more charges, or could there be?
No, they could definitely add charges, but they're definitely serious, because if they just wanted her cooperation, so let's say they thought that she had somebody bigger.
And wait, I have a question based on that, just based on what you said about like, she's caught probably because someone turned. Does that necessarily mean one of those other 10 people, or no? It could just be anyone for anything.
Yeah. So the answer is it does not have to be one of those 10 people. And that's what I was going to say about, like, if they didn't want to prosecute Jen and they just wanted her cooperation, they could have done what they call a pre-indictment disposition with her. And sometimes you still get indicted because the pre-indictment disposition doesn't work out. So it basically means, hey, listen, you're a target of this investigation. We think you're low-hanging fruit. We don't think that you are really the person that we're looking for. So if you want to plead to this information, we'll have you plead and keep it sealed, and you can cooperate with us, instead of going through the public display of a formal indictment and having criminal charges pressed against you. They didn't do that.
And then that person turns into an informant and is working the whole time. If the pre-indictment is,
yes, absolutely. But listen, you can also cooperate even if you are on an indictment, if those are just the two ways that it goes, right? It could possibly be that Jen had been talking with the U.S. attorneys and the FBI, Homeland Security, trying to do a resolution of the case, and she was dragging her feet or not taking it seriously. And they said, F it, we're going to indictment, this is over. She didn't think that they would. I mean, that could be the situation. I mean, if it's the way that you're describing, maybe not, but you never know. That part of the reason she's so insane, maybe because she had a feeling this was coming the whole time she was on the show.
Well, okay, so let's two things to that. I mean, so based on what you're saying about it, it's always the person that thinks they're doing nothing wrong and they have to be convinced, like, you know, it's edited and everything, but you're still seeing a lot of footage. Like, are you shocked that this is happening? Like, if I said to you, like, which of these girls would this happen to? the most, who would you pick as like the top 1 or 2?
Oh, I would say probably her. I mean, she definitely seems, because I'm in entertainment and I've edited things as a director. I'm not talented enough to edit myself, but I've watched editors work. She seemed the most sane in the pilot, where I was like, oh, she's like rational, and
she's like your favorite there on the pilot, right?
And then as the time progressed, I was like, oh, she's crazy. She's crazy. Of course, alcohol is usually involved.
But sweetie, you haven't even, like, you wait till you get to the end and the reunion. It's going to be like.
No, I just finished the Sundance episode, which was the most boring episode to me, actually. But they all kind of seem a little pilled out to me, just like a little, like we Papa's Danny with breakfast. But as far as criminally, she's gangster. She's always trying to throw the hands, and so she's about it. She's gonna do just fine in Danbury. She's gonna be in all of the jail beef. She may get an Orange Is the New Black spinoff. I think she's gonna love it there.